Welcome, Chiefs Kingdom. This is RGR Football. My name's Ryan, and I'm going rogue on the Kansas City Chiefs as well as the NFL. Rogue, at least in the sense, is that I'm doing this one solo today. The rest of the team at RGR Football is working on some other projects. We have plenty coming for you, including film review, all kinds of by the numbers like this. We might have a couple new features for you as well. This is Chiefs by the numbers, and this is the inside look at the trending data, the analytics in terms of production. It's not the overall bigger predictive analytics. We're not going there. We want to see and measure what the Chiefs have done every week. And we're going to go through this week 7 matchup with the Denver Broncos. If you're new to the channel, make sure that you hit the like and the sub and the bell notification. That'll let you know when something new comes out. You do have to turn that on your devices so that you get all of those notifications. But it makes it easier to keep track with the channel as we continue to add new wrinkles. And this wrinkle, first and foremost, is something that the cold may have brought out, because this game against the Denver Broncos was frigid. If you missed my game coverage, it was at game time between 7 and 11 degrees at my place, and that's actually warmer than it was on the field itself. So this was a challenge all the way around, and that is reflected in some of the data that we see coming out of the aftermath of it. And I'm going to start where I start every week, and that's really to gauge the production of this team on the offensive side of the ball. Now, this was a big drop-off, their steepest drop-off to this season so far, and falling down to 5.6 yards per offensive play. That's down almost a full yard of play from the week prior. And it's a trend that goes up and down and up and down. And when we get past the mid-season point, I will show you those weekly trends as a product of the entire week that is coming, and those are graphics that I keep up to date. We'll take a look at those. But this one in particular does come back to the fact that it was a poor weather game. I think that had a big impact on this. There's also a fact that the number of snaps that the offense played was pretty reduced versus previous games. So there is a question there about, were they able to get into a rhythm like they usually do? We've seen the Chiefs start slow and take quite a while to get purring. That may have played a factor in this particular game as well, but I think the overriding one is that the footing wasn't great and the weather certainly was cold, and that leads to making a couple of problems for an offense in particular. But that's not the only thing that affected them. There's also something that ended up on the positive, and I think despite having what were more chances overall, 12 total drives of possession, they scored on 7 of them. And so that is a small uptick up versus the previous week, which in a week when snow is falling and it's really, really cold, I think that's actually a really positive sign that you were able to make headway. My expectation would have been that this would have been a step backward, but that didn't happen. Now, the drives were short, so that's how you get more of them, and the turnovers certainly didn't help. The Chiefs might have had even more had it worked out that way. But in the end, it's about making the most of what you do with your opportunities, and being able to hold par versus the previous week, I think, is a really good sign for what they're going to be able to do going forward, because as the weather continues to deteriorate through the fall and through the run-up to the postseason, I'm thinking there's going to be a couple more of these games in the future for this particular team. That said, there's another upward trend that I really like, and this is without even a key player like LJ Sneed, who will be back eventually. We don't have an update on that prognosis or when Sneed will be back on the field, but his brethren, his friends in the rookie class are stepping back up, and you see that. Mike Dana is still out. He would be playing a role here as well, so there's definitely some more hills to climb, but you saw Willie Gay take an uptick this week and play more snaps, playing 50% of the defensive snaps for this team, and that is reflected here in the graphic as well. The yellow is going to represent the offensive and special team snaps, and the red is going to represent the defensive snaps here. So you can see the balance has shifted with only Clyde really playing on offense, obviously with Niang out, and the special team snaps coming down a bit. But not only Willie, but Treshaun Wharton played quite a bit as well, and that was an uptick for him. So you see that the rookie class is making more of a contribution. And this is something that I track every week, and more so will continue going forward, because at the end of the day, as this team, as a roster, matures, and you have to spend more money on your stars, that means you have to have more contribution from guys that are earlier in their career because they're super cheap. Rookie contracts are the cheapest in the league. And so when you have a good, solid volume of rookie snaps, that means that you're able to maintain that balance contractually outside the organization as a whole. And that bodes well for the Chiefs' future. I like this. And like I said, they'll get more of an uptick when they get Snead and Dana back. But you also have to see that Bo Peep Keys played 8 snaps on defense in this game. And that is a positive sign as well. Hopefully that can continue. Now, on the defensive side, this I put as a push because while this number is very solid, 43% pressure rate, that's 19 pressures on 44 dropbacks for the opposing quarterback. And this is per PFF. That's about even. That's a pretty good score, but they were so high in terms of pressure created the week before. That is a significant drop-off. They're minus 41%, but I put this as a push because this is still a good volume of pressure. Not great, and it was highly augmented by the fact that they were so efficient at producing pressure the week before. So if they can keep that up, I think they're going to be in good shape as well. Now, one tactic that I think has come into play, and it has been creeping up of late. This, again, might be a factor due to the weather, but an extra missed tackle over the week before again, which was up from the week before that. So we've seen a bit of an increase here the last couple of weeks, and it's getting back to the point where this is too many. They need to be down below 5, and that's the comfort level where you're not costing yourself plays. Now, the defense made up for it. The special teams made up for it by having those huge splash plays. We'll talk about those on the defensive side here in a minute, but the kick return in particular, by taking what is an instant play in one snap and bringing it back and putting points on the board, Byron Pringle was able to negate some of these missed tackles because it gives you the other side of the seesaw in terms of getting points on the board that makes up for it. But the big takeaway this week for me on the defensive side is all of this that was produced. It was so minor in terms of overall percentage, and this is one thing that I think at 11%, this should be about average. But it's the way that they got this done in creating 4 turnovers. That is a huge margin. It's virtually impossible to lose when you create that much turnover. But they also broke up several passes. And so when you look at the overall, it is contesting those particular passes. It is providing pressure on the others. Some of those things coincide, sometimes they don't. But overall, this defense stepped it back up, and it looks like they're on the mend against a Broncos team that has some weapons out there. They were certainly not full strength, but I think this lent itself to be more of a lopsided victory than maybe it was on paper. Going forward, this is something the defense can build from, particularly in the pass game. There will be some things that they have to build on. We're going to give you those in the film reviews this week. Dan will have one. I will have 1 or 2 or who knows how many. There's enough to dig into in this week. It's going to be really interesting as we break down the film, so don't miss those as well. And we have the game plan for next week coming for you as well. Then there's Kingdom Corner, the pre-game ritual. There's content all week long on the channel, so I hope you guys are enjoying that. If you're not subbed, do that now and click the like and the sub and the bell notification so you know everything that's going on. Our live streams are cooking. Everybody seems to be enjoying those, and we're getting the questions answered. That's Monday Night Live every weekend, and we're doing a post-game live as well like we did last season, so check back in for that. If you're new, I think you'll enjoy those quite particularly. So that's it for By the Numbers for the Chiefs for Week 7 against the Broncos. Hope you guys have a good one, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. These videos to see more, and subscribe to RGR Football.